Let's come to Konstantin Kisin, who I personally regard as a very good friend. He's got a very interesting little clip floating around at the moment talking about the rise of extremism amongst young men. And he points to some of the causes. I don't think I'm misrepresenting him in this. He points to extraordinary rates of fatherlessness, kids growing up with no male role model of any great substance in very large numbers. I think in his native Britain, if I'm not mistaken, fully half, possibly more than half of children are now born outside of wedlock. And we know that overwhelmingly those children will not have much or any, in many cases, any exposure to their own biological father. They're being exposed to very, very limited role modeling by male teachers. Overwhelmingly, teaching is feminized, which is not to be critical of female teachers. It's just to say there are not many role models there for men who are wondering what it means to channel their natural aggression, contain their anger, manage their testosterone in ways that are constructive, not destructive. We're unaware of history. We haven't lived through a major war or a huge downturn. We've only got the vaguest memories of the Second World War. We can't remember anything more than a few dates about the First World War. And we think we've heard of something called the Napoleonic War. We don't know what major civilizational upsets are like. And so in the midst of all of this confusion, there's a great tendency to go to extremes. And he sees that as very real danger, very dangerous indeed. How do you respond to what he's saying?
People who live in a secular world live in a world where the cosmos has been flattened. And so they're looking for these transcendental identity markers, and they're looking for them in ways that they feel will give them the fulfillment of that. So our society has tried to hold on to the transcendental values of things like meaning and purpose and reality. But outside of the framework of the mystery and transcendence itself that gives a relational foundation and a rational foundation for it, we come up short, right? So the European Enlightenment ended up divorcing the creator from the creation, and that caused a number of issues. And we see the trickle-down effect of that. But the dynamic of disenchantment that we see as an end result of the naturalistic framework that we see, I think provides an opportunity for us to communicate to people like young men, to individuals who are feeling that emptiness and are looking for it in things that they think will fulfill it in kind of a superficial hypermasculinity. So when we communicate with people who operate on the dynamic of disenchantment and have their worldview that flattens out the transcendent and holds to like a staleness of meaning, a worldview that does give answers to the ultimate question, but is not giving answers that totally fulfill. So ideas like meaning and morality and hope and value and purpose and love, they'll be inexplicably attractive, but only insofar as they actually give something that fills that void. And that's because of the false neutrality of secularism that's left them with thinking that they can just create that wholesale from their own kind of imagination. It assumes that the fallback is, in the past, that it had to be atheism or a lack of a transcendent creator. And now I think what we're seeing is a lot of people trying to fill that not with atheism or skepticism, but for a lot of young men with being as macho as they could be, being there's like an optimization culture that I see in a lot of young men where they're trying to optimize their sleep and they're trying to optimize their health and they're trying to optimize their relationships. But that's a pursuit in and of itself, and it's an ends to a means. And it becomes then the goal. The goal is to be taking all the right supplements and to optimizing how you can work out the best so you can look the best. But all of these things are hopelessly superficial. And I think when we live in a world where the transcendence isn't flat because the second person of the Trinity stepped off his throne in eternity and into humanity and lived the life that was perfect, that actually embodied a full fulfillment and then steps in the void between the creator and the creation. I think that's really where the hope for finding meaning and purpose and the question of morality comes from. But the world is telling them, and social media is telling them, that as long as you can lift the next weight, or you can get the next girl, or you can buy the next car, or all of these things, well, that's what's going to get you there. And that's just a recycled version of what we see all throughout Scripture of people trying to find idols that will answer their prayers, but ultimately are just dead pieces of wood.